Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets for the next 30 days from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1.99 versus the regular price of $3.49 for a total savings of $1.50. Prices are already discounted across the board and no coupon is required. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts menu, and lock them in for 30 days across all sports for only $1.99.
Teddy's back minus 250. Steve Merrill plus 170. I know the answer, and so do you all now. Teddy's back. Welcome, everyone, to Wager Talk. Today, I'm Lawrence Presman, excited to be here. Teddy Covers took a couple of days off. How are you, my friend? Did you enjoy your time away from me as much as you?
No, I didn't. That's the thing. You take a couple days off. You're like, all right, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And basically, I sat around. I lost my clients. They're not happy with me. And then after about 2 days, I start to feel. I'm like, I need a couple of days of R&R. I just need to. And then after 2 days, I'm like, it feels like the freaking the lockdown last March. I'm like, I got to get moving. I got to get back on air. So. It was good to take a couple of days off. I don't think I'll do it again anytime soon.
Well, listen, on behalf of me, please feel free to take time off anytime you want. Steve Merrill, shout out to him. He did an awesome job, Teddy. Forgot you were even co-host. Just felt so natural, so real. Anyway, Dave Cokin, right off the top. It's baseball time, Teddy, and I'm excited about it, man. There's so much hype in Toronto right now for the Blue Jays, and, I love baseball, so I'm excited about it starting. Dave Cokin, we're going to look at a couple of baseball games as well as a hockey game. Drew Martin making his first appearance on WTT today. He's going to talk some baseball as well and also take a look at the UCLA Gonzaga game and your big game breakdown. But before we get into all of that, Teddy, I missed what happened in sports last night.
Well, let's do a little bad beats.
I saw it all.
I know. Right at the top, my friend, we're going to talk about what happened to you and your clients last night. Bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. A little recap of what happened in the sports betting world last night. And I got a tweet from some guy named the Prez. Quote, wow, just a brutal, brutal loss on the under in mini. My God, under 5.5. And yeah, this is a tough beat. It's 3-1 with 12 seconds to go. The mini scores the open net to make it 3-2. They win the faceoff. They get the putt into the San Jose end. Then as they get the puck and shoots all the way down, and it's trickling. It goes into the empty net with 0.3 seconds on the clock. Game goes over the total. That was a tough one, Prez. No doubt about it. There were a couple of tough ones in the NBA last night. How about the Spurs-Kings total? 230.5. They're at 122 at halftime. They're at 179 going to the fourth. The in-game total's at 245.5. It's 118 to 100 with 3 and change to play. And then all of a sudden, crickets. Miss, turnover, empty the bench. Only 8 points the rest of the way. Stayed under. Overpaced the whole way until the last 3 minutes. Spurs Kings over bettors. Did not enjoy that one. What about Knicks bettors last night? The Knicks minus 3.5. They're up the whole game. They're up by a dozen with 8 to play, 92 to 80. Not like the T-Wolves are known for defense. And yet the Knicks basically got shut down the last 8 minutes, but scored 9 points the last 8 minutes of the game. Knicks were still leading under a minute to play. Then Malik Beasley hits the 3. The Knicks turn it over. T-Wolves turned it over back. Another miss ball game. Knicks lose by 1. Knicks bettors didn't enjoy the latter part of the fourth quarter in that one. A couple of bad bets worth noting. The Celtics +1 at the open. Closed -1.5. The markets still haven't figured out the Celtics are a sub-500 team. They lost to Dallas wire to wire. And bettors got the side and total wrong in Phoenix. The Suns bet from -7.5 up to -8.5. The total from 220 down to 216. 121-116 final. The Bulls hit a pair of 2-pointers in the last 12 seconds to cover the spread in that one. Bad for the books. Look, in the NHL, I mean, you saw this, and this is an NHL one that stood out to me last night, Prez, as I was putting this segment together. The Avs opened minus 275. They closed as high as minus 385. Nothing but Colorado money. And oh, by the way, they won the game 9-3. That wasn't good for the house. The Blazers minus 6.5 up to minus 8 against the Pistons. It was a close game for 3, but they blew out Detroit in the fourth, won by 23. And the Jazz Grizzlies total 230, bet down to 225.5. 111, 107. The final stays under the total, even with 8 points in the last 13 seconds. A little bit of scramble points didn't get it over the total. There you have it, Prez. Bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. Back to you.
Teddy Covers, great stuff. And yeah, dude, I was reeling over my loss last night, that under. You know, the crazy thing was Vivian and I were watching the game, and the guy shot the puck towards the empty net. And if it goes in after the buzzer, it doesn't count, unlike basketball where it just has to leave the person's hand. We're like, I'm trying to figure out in real time with like 1.3 seconds. Is it going to make it? Is it no? Is it? Oh, it made it. Oh, anyway, whatever. I'm having such a great, yeah.
It's important to look, the bad beats happen to everyone. Okay, sooner or later, and sometimes they streak together. What I like about what we do with bad beats on the show is that everyone gets together the next day and goes, oh my God, this was brutal. And we all get to commiserate with each other. And then it's over. And you stick it in the that happened drawer and you move on. That's what you have to do when it comes to bad beats in sports betting. You cannot let them linger for days on end.
No, I got over it pretty quick. And you know, Dave Cokin, we'll bring him in a second. As he pointed out before the show, easier to deal with bad beats when you're having a great season. And I just chalked it up to tough luck. Dave Cokin joining us, everybody. Excited to have him, Dave. Nice call on the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. They looked really good. Really, really strong game. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
Good. Baseball's back. Hockey continues to be productive. It's fun right now. The only negative is I made the decision not to do the KBO this year. So disappointment for a few folks who followed me in that last year, but it's just a time element, and can't do everything. And I decided to eliminate KBO from the mix. I don't think too many people are going to care though.
It's going to be interesting, Dave, because you and Andrew had a really outstanding KBO season last year and made a lot of money for the people who, you know, just were able to step out of their comfort zone and play that sport. Be interesting to see, you know, there was no sports going on, and there were a lot of people that were tailing you and Andrew. I would have loved to have seen how many people would have tailed you and Andrew this time around, given that we have a full slate of sports in play. My guess is they would have forgotten about the KBO.
Well, it's in the middle of the night. It's not on TV this year. So.
Yeah, exactly. Dave Cokin, everybody joining us. Outstanding hockey season. Was the #1 baseball expert last year at WagerTalk. I know he doesn't compete with anybody but himself. But hey, kudos to him. #1 baseball, most profitable expert last year. Dave, let's leave the hockey game for last and talk about the Astros and the A's. And a fascinating game here. You got Oakland. It's basically a pick 'em, but you know, Houston with their rotation, but they did lose a lot. Oakland's a team that looks like they might make some noise. A great game to start the season. How are we handicapping this?
Well, the market seems to like the Astros. I'm not as sold on them in a lot of regards this year. First of all, the George Springer loss is big on this team. It's basically a 5-win guy who's not there anymore. I'm also not really sold on their rotation. Not that there's anything wrong with Zach Greinke, but he's no longer a #1 starter. He profiles more as a #3 starter. I'm looking to see where I've got him in my overall pitcher rankings. Well, I've still got him as a low 2. So, but I think that's going to have a little bit of a domino effect on the rotation overall. I don't think the Astros are as good as a lot of people do, and I think they're a decent underbet this year. As for opening day, Chris Bassett basically came from out of nowhere last year to be a really outstanding pitcher for the A's, and I like their lineup. I think this is an Oakland team that, for some reason, still isn't getting the respect they're due. They're kind of thought of as this small market miracle that keeps happening year after year. But the thing is, maybe it is a small market miracle, but it is still happening year after year. At the price now, I think I'd lean to the A's in this game. It's not a game I really ever considered to make my card, but if you're just seeking value, and that's what a lot of people do in baseball, I would say the value here is with Oakland at basically even money.
Let me ask you this, Dave, because in the regular season last year, Oakland kind of had Houston's number. And then in the postseason, it was the other way around with the Astros eliminating the A's. I think it was in 4 games. Is there any element of postseason revenge in your support for Oakland today, or is this all about this year's team and this year's matchup?
No, I don't really factor revenge in at all in baseball. I just don't think it matters. In other sports, obviously college sports in particular, I think revenge is a factor you have to consider in your daily handicapping. But it's not a real big deal in the NFL, and it's certainly not a big deal to me in baseball. The interesting thing is, I think it does matter more in the NHL. That's the one professional sport where I think there is the emotional revenge factor does come into play in the NHL more than it does in the other sports. But baseball, I don't bother with it at all.
Dave Cokin, everybody. Dave, let's talk Seattle versus San Fran. Kevin Guzman, a guy I really stay away from on a regular basis. One day lights out, next day 10 runs in 3 innings. He's playing against Seattle. Marcus Gonzalez. It's basically a pick 'em again. 8.5. Where are you going here?
Gausman is a guy who was extremely highly regarded when he was drafted. I mean, his stuff was just electric, and he projected as a number 1 starter and never really lived up to billing and had a lot of command issues and just looked like basically a bust who, kind of hung around the majors and bounced from team to team, but never put it together until last season. And Gausman, he found the magic touch, which was another pitch. And he was really good for the Giants. And I think there's going to be a carryover. He's still got loads of velocity. I mean, this is a guy who can still throw mid-90s. And with him commanding his stuff and getting a lot more out of his changeup, Gausman is now looking like a guy who in later life, as far as Major League Baseball is concerned, is becoming a good pitcher. Marco Gonzalez is a guy who's become popular with the betting market because he's been clearly the Seattle ace last year and particularly good at home. And his career numbers in April, by the way, are pretty good. But Kyle Lewis being out is a big hit for the Mariners. This isn't a team with a lot of offense. He's their best player, and he's starting the year on the injured list. I think the Giants are the right side in this game. It almost made my card. It was a game I strongly considered. Had they come in as the dog, I would have played them. But the odds makers, they kind of agreed with me and made the Giants a favorite in the game. The Giants were the chemistry kings last year. They were never out of a game. They exceeded their expectations by a pretty big margin. And I'm not ruling out them doing the same thing again this year. On paper, they're not a real good baseball team. But on the field, they've performed pretty well. And they're going to have to convince me that they're no good this time around.
Well, that's what I was about to ask you, Dave. I'm like, both these teams sub 500 squads last year. Does either team offer bet on potential? It sounds to me like you think San Fran is likely to be undervalued in the markets and maybe a decent team that will be worth betting on, not just today, but moving forward.
Yeah, only because of what they did last year. They were in the playoff hunt until the last few days of the season. Not bad for a team that was supposed to be one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in baseball coming in. Now, you can attribute that to the fact that it was a small schedule, truncated. They only played, about a third of the games. And maybe that had something to do with it. But the fact is, I don't think any team used their entire roster better than the Giants did last year. They basically had a full roster, and they used them all on an everyday basis. And I don't think Gabe Kapler is going to stray from that philosophy this year. If you're on the bench, you're still probably going to get in the game at some point. And you get good chemistry like that, it makes you exceed expectations. So it might well be the Giants will regress because the talent level isn't very good. But again, I'm a little more bullish on them than some people are. Not that they're going to make the playoffs. They basically have no chance for that. They're in an impossible division with the Giants and Padres on top. So they're probably going to be a sub-500 team, but maybe not as much of a fall-off as some people think. Seattle's still a year or two away. Good prospects on the way up, but they're not there yet.
Dave Cokin. Guys, thank you all for watching Wager Talk today. Please hit that like button for us. We had to get Dave out of bed for this show.
Well, that's
and that in and of itself, that's a lie?
Yes.
I know, Dave.
I'm always up
Everybody
early.
knew.
Dave. I am an early riser.
Dave, there are people who do have sense of humors, and they listen to our show, and they knew I was joking around.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, hit that like button, everybody. Dave, this matchup intrigues me. Carolina versus Chicago in hockey. Carolina just came off of 3 wins in a row, including a beautiful win against Tampa Bay in regulation. They head over to Chicago, and it was a bad spot for Tampa Bay. I liked Chicago there. And the Blackhawks won 2-1. Now you got game 2 of this series, minus 160, give or take, for the Canes. Where are you going in this game?
It's gotten bet down a little bit, and I think mistakenly bet down, to be honest with you. Look, Carolina, they killed Chicago in that game. Absolutely killed them. And they just happen to lose the game. It happens sometimes where a team dominates every aspect of the game and loses. They run into a hot goalie or just aren't able to finish their plays. And that happened to the Hurricanes in that game. The Blackhawks have been, from a metric standpoint, absolutely horrific over the last couple of weeks. I mean, really bad. And have pulled out a few of those games with some stellar goaltending and I think some good luck. Good luck doesn't last all that long. This game's dropped now to 160, 155. I think there's actually value on Carolina at this price. I would make this closer to 2-1. Expect the Hurricanes to win this game tonight.
Teddy, you have a follow-up on that? No.
Nope.
Let's
On
just
hockey?
look at you. Hey, Teddy, we all love hockey. Dave, I love it. I agree with you 100% on Carolina, and I'm going to be talking about it in the penalty box segment. Dave Cokin, everybody. Dave, before we let you go, just for me personally, what do you think of the Blue Jays?
Oh, the Dunedin Blue Jays. Nice team.
Call them anything you want.
Well, they're not the Toronto Blue Jays right now. They're the Dunedin Blue Jays. By the way, note that ballpark in Dunedin, if you check the wind conditions there, because that is an absolute launching pad if the wind is blowing out. It's a good hitter's park to begin with, as many of the spring training sites are. And you could see some really wild games down there if the wind is cooperating. No, I think the Blue Jays are a pretty good baseball team. Should be a winning team. Whether they're good enough to make the playoffs or not remains to be seen. That'll depend on the pitching, but they've got some offense. The one worry I would have for them, and I do think this is important, it gets overlooked, their outfield defense might be pretty bad, and run prevention is pretty important. So that's something to keep an eye on, is the outfield defense. If it doesn't improve, that's going to be an area of concern for the Blue Jays.
We're not going to have you on again until next week. Any quick thought on college hoops, or you want to just call it a segment?
Yeah, find out what Ralph Michaels likes and go with his.
There you go.
I'm probably done with college basketball. It was not a great season, to be honest. Everything else is done well, but college baskets were not terrific this year, and I haven't had a good read in the tournament, so I'm going to steal Ralph's place.
I steal them all the time. Dave Cokin, everyone. Dave, thanks for joining us, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on every Thursday. You'll be a regular daily guest on First Pitch. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 2 or 3 times a week minimum, and hopefully it'll be another good baseball season.
Awesome stuff. Get out of here, Dave. Teddy, you get your chops ready for that big game breakdown. We'll be back in 20 seconds. Teddy, Drew, and my penalty box segment still to come.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets for the next 30 days from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1.99 versus the regular price of $3.49 for a total savings of $1.50. Prices are already discounted across the board and no coupon is required. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts menu, and lock them in for 30 days across all sports for only $1.99.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk a little MLB opening day. And personally, all right, some of the guys start from opening day and they start kicking MLB's butt. I usually wait a week, 10 days before I get involved. So this is a play for me on paper, not anything that I'm actually going into my accounts and betting. And that's all MLB is for me initially, that first week of the season. We want to see if what we think is real is actually real. We like to get the starters through one time, sometimes two, through the rotation. All that being said, you're going to hear a lot in MLB about starting pitching. That's the way the markets focus for MLB. I don't spend a lot of time on starting pitching. Obviously, I don't want my money on pitchers who can't get anyone out, and you like to have pitchers who get everyone out. But when it comes to price points, starting pitching tends to be priced appropriately in the markets. Where I find value, what I look for in MLB, bullpen advantages and lineup advantages. And this is a game in which the road favorite, Chicago White Sox, what are they? I'm seeing minus 115 in that range. You can even find cheaper than that if you shop around, total of 8. When it comes to the bullpen, and the White Sox might have one of the, if not the best bullpen in baseball. You know, they have Liam Hendricks taking over as closer. You know, Aaron Bummer, Evan Marshall, Cody Heuer, Michael Kopech returns. He didn't pitch last year. I mean, it's a really strong-looking pen. Now, the Angels made some moves in the offseason. If you think Iglesias is going to be the closer that they needed, I've got my questions. But in comparison, White Sox are going to get outs in the latter stages. LA, maybe, not so much. Lineups, it's a very similar story. Look, this White Sox lineup is stacked top to bottom, even without a Jimenez in the lineup. I mean, really, it's a key injury, but it's not a break-the-back injury. You look at the Angels, and again, you like the front of the batting order. Of course you do. You know, they have we have Trout and Rendon and Ohtani. David Fletcher at leadoff. Yeah, top 4, absolutely. You look at the back half of that lineup, I'm not scared of the Angels, not even a little bit. So, assuming the starting pitching is priced correctly, you have a lineup and bullpen advantages towards the White Sox in a near pick-em price range. Count me interested. Look at Chicago. Minus 115. You can find better than that if you shop around. I think the White Sox get the win on opening day. There you have it, Prez. Back to you.
Teddy Covers, thank you, brother. Awesome stuff. I like that play as well. I was looking at that too. I should have won baseball play up. It's a late game. I was the second most profitable handicapper in baseball last year, and I ended the season on a ridiculous run. But yeah, like you, Teddy, I'm going to ease into the baseball season as well. I'm going to play very sparingly over the next couple of weeks as we see what happens. Guys, I know I'm blurry or something. Something's up with my internet today, but you know, whenever you're down, whenever you're troubled, just bring Drew the fuck Martin on. Drew Martin!
Lawrence Bresman, thanks for having me on Wager Talk Today. You're dude, popping my cherry on Wager Talk Today, buddy.
Dude, let's just get rid of the middle guy. What do we need the middle guy for? Are you kidding? I got one of the best hosts in the sports gambling world on the show today. Drew Martin, host of First Pitch and about 7 million other things that we do at Wager Talk. Love to have you on, man. Welcome to the show. Beautiful irony last night. I called you to see if you wanted to come on here and talk baseball, and you were actually playing baseball.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. On a little men's beer league softball game that I got asked to be a part of, and I see the Prez is giving me a call. So quick answer there, and of course I would love to join you and Teddy. You know, two of my favorite guys here, talking baseball, talking Final Four. Heck, you know, guys, one thing that came to my mind was, in terms of top 5 weekends in the sports betting calendar, I think you can put this weekend up there, at least for me personally. We get Final Four and MLB opening day, you know, the start to the season, which MLB is kind of a strange sport in itself, where I actually like the beginning of the season more than the end of the season, opposite of most sports. So that's why I would put this weekend up there in terms of my top 5 weekends of the sports betting calendar.
Yeah, look,
and normally we have the Masters this weekend as well.
I was just going to say that. No, Teddy, I was literally just going to say it. Normally we have the Masters. It's one more week from now. And guys, we will be doing some betting coverage on the Masters next week. So stay with us. Drew, let's talk about First Pitch. You're the host of our baseball show, First Pitch. We've got so many. You have just a ton of baseball talent to choose to have on the show with you. Tell us when the show will be. Kind of a quick format summary, who's going to be on it, what people can expect, etc.
Sure, Prez. I mean, guys, I'm really honored to just be the host of First Pitch, you know, the host of the MLB show on the WagerTalk YouTube channel here. And like Prez said, in terms of the roster availability with baseball betting knowledge, I don't think you're going to find anywhere even near what we kind of have in our holster here to throw out. And in terms of scheduling the guys, Prez, I actually took a back seat on that. I think it's kind of Joe and James Bunting, the director of kind of content, I guess, kind of taking the lead on that. So in terms of the handicappers on there, I don't think I have to choose. But either way, Prez, I mean, in terms of where we're going with this show, guys, I'm really wanting to make it the premier show for betting baseball, and you're wanting to get information on that day's card or futures knowledge, you're going to want to choose First Pitch here. That's what I'm at least driving the show to be, kind of fast-paced betting show with knowledge on the pitchers, the lineups, any changes, weather, and then best bets as well. So hopefully we have a huge run here, Prez, in terms of guys profit on the best bets, and then we'll give out great coupons to use on both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. So check us out each and every day right after WagerTalk Today. So it's a good little duo here that we're setting up.
And that show, because we haven't given the time, we promoted the show a couple of times, but that's 10 a.m. Pacific. I'm sorry?
Yeah. So Teddy, we're going to be going. We're kind of taping it right now. And then when the college basketball season's over on Monday, on Tuesday, we're going to be going live right in the college basketball slot at 1:45 Eastern time each and every day, Monday through Friday.
Brilliant.
Great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Drew,
now,
let's get
I also want to ask you, Drew.
Go ahead, Teddy.
So I know personally, my track record for the first week of the MLB season long-term stinks. I don't bet it anymore. I watch and try to learn. And that's come, the only way I learned that lesson is I just got getting punched in the face over and over again. And it's like, all right, maybe you need to take a step back early on and not get punched in the face for yourself and your clients. What strategies do you have? First of all, do you get involved right from the get-go? And do you have strategies for people that are interested in firing away at MLB from day one that are profitable? Because I personally haven't found them.
You know, Teddy, it's interesting you bring that up because I've gone back over, I guess, 7 years ago is when you hired me on Sports Memo. So I've had 7 years of track record here. And it's really just volatile in terms of the first 2 weeks, I would call it. Some years I've done well, some years not so much. I don't see a repeatable track record there. So I just kind of go low on volume, Teddy, and I don't concentrate as much on bullpens because one thing in sports betting, and I've learned this from you as well as other guys on the roster that I trust their opinion. I don't like handicapping all sports, Teddy, in reading and taking other people's opinion. I like to see it for myself and use the analytics to my advantage. And that doesn't exist right now because I don't like to look at spring training and then translate that over to the regular season. I would rather get at least a week of data here on the bullpens and then start making my bullpen ratings. And that's where I've had success, is handicapping the bullpens, because I think starting pitchers, all of these guys going today, I mean, they're all opening day starters. They're likely above average. They're good pitchers. I think there's going to be a lot of success here. Add on the fact that it's cold throughout the board, I would look towards unders. But the thing is, Teddy, the odds makers are onto that. I mean, these aren't very high totals, what they're doing with the ball. I think there's just a lot of question marks out there. So I'm not a big fan of peppering the board on days like today. I tell people out there to kind of single it out, one or two bets, watch what's going on. And then next week, the following week, kind of towards your sentiment, lighten it up a little bit more and going a little bit heavier with your bankroll.
Drew Martin, everyone. You can find him at Sports Memo, host of First Pitch. Drew, we got a game starting in 34 minutes. We're going to talk about that really quick, and all the people who logged in live can bet it. The rest, log in live. Blue Jays against the Yankees. And man, I mean, the Yankees by far the favorite to win the East. They're going to, I don't know if they're going to battle with Tampa Bay and Toronto, but there's a lot of high hopes on this Toronto team. Great pitching matchup today. Toronto finds themselves at plus 165. Ryu doesn't get 165 very often. That is for sure. To me, it feels like an under, but that Toronto lineup is ridiculous. Same with the Yankees. This is just going to be a fun game. What do you like?
Yeah, I had Prez kind of where you were pointing to that. Ryu doesn't get plus 165. I think it's even touching plus 170 now very often. I think this is actually a good time to get one of these shots, guys, to get huge plus price underdogs. That's a way to really increase your bankroll. Now, the market obviously pricing this at only a 37% chance for the Toronto Blue Jays to win this game. That's what it equates to when you go to the plus 165 on the Toronto Blue Jays. And with Ryu on the hill, 34-year-old South Korean, he had 67 innings pitched last season, Prez, 2.69 ERA, 3.01 FIP, really good numbers, 26% K rate. I think he's actually going to have success here against the Yankees lineup that they did have injuries last year, but the fact is, they were a lot better against righties. They were actually below average against lefty pitchers last year. Now, they do have Garrett Cole. I think that's something you really got to worry about here. But like you touched on, Prez, I mean, this Toronto Blue Jays lineup is scary. They're good. They're young. I even think they might even be underrated. So overall, I think that equates here to a shot on the Toronto Blue Jays, a big plus price here, plus 165. And Prez, I know we're speaking to sports bettors mainly, but I always like to kind of put it out, especially on opening day. You're risking $100, and if the Toronto Blue Jays win, you get $165 on the kickback. Money line spreads, I don't think the amateur bettors necessarily equate for that, and they lay too much on the favorites and don't take enough shots on the underdogs. MLB, especially early on in the season.
Yeah.
So Cole is one of these pitchers who a lot of times, even when you're supposed to bet against him, I try not to bet against him.
Right.
The Blue Jays faced him twice last year. 13-2 Yankees, 12-1 Yankees. In the two starts, 7 innings both times, gave up 8 hits, 2 runs, 15 strikeouts, 2 walks, every bit the dominant Cole that we expect to see every day. Do you look to step in front of some of these aces? Or is this just a price point situation where you're like, hey, Toronto's got a good pitcher on the hill, and at plus 165 or plus 170, there's value on the Blue Jays? Or is this a, hey, Cole doesn't win every start type of situation, and then maybe after the Blue Jays see him a fair bit, and maybe they get a better look at him this time around? What's the thought process behind the wager?
I mean, last year's numbers I do bring into this year, and you're right. The Toronto Blue Jays didn't have much success. I mean, the 12 and the 13 runs, I don't think that's as much to do with Garrett Cole. Obviously,
Sure.
He wasn't hitting in those, but the pitching wise and being able to kind of hinder what Toronto is able to do offensively, yes, it's part of the bet. And Teddy, I do want to clarify. I mean, this isn't like a 5%er where I'm going big on the bankroll. This is I'm just touching this game. If it loses, I mean, the market's telling us it's going to lose. It's only a 37% chance of the Blue Jays winning this game. And I just have this number as higher than that. So it's not something where I would go huge on this, guys. It's just at this plus price. I think it is worth a shot here with a really good pitcher on the hill and a good lineup to take it to the Yankees. And heck, a 3-2 win, that's $165 in your pocket for a $100 better.
Yeah, and Drew, it's the right time to bet against Cole and any of these aces because they're not going to have complete games on their first day out. So
That's
they
true.
will actually have a pitch count, and we will get to the bullpen for both teams. So I love it. The only problem that I have is Ryu is just had not a nightmare for him, a bad start to the season last year. It feels like he does need to get a few starts under his belt. But I agree there is a lot of value in that game. Brother, Dave Cokin was on earlier. He took apart the Giants-Marlins game. I know you want to discuss that game as well. I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, the Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Marlins.
No, the Marlins. Sorry. You want to discuss the Florida Marlins game.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants, they're kind of an interesting handicap in themselves. I'm not involved with them today, but I mean, maybe looking towards a season win total under them being in the NL West, having to play the Padres and the Dodgers, 36 times. I just look towards their season win total towards the under because the market hasn't priced near 500. But talking about today's game, the Sunshine State battle, we got Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Marlins in an NL Park. Now, keep in mind the DH is not going to be allowed in NL Parks. That's part of this handicap. Prez, interestingly enough, these are the two most profitable teams from last year. The Rays were up over 12 units. The Marlins up over 11 units. Now they're facing on opening day. And really, I'm going after this one in the first 5 innings, Prez, because, again, talking about the bullpens, I'm not really sure. And the Marlins didn't have a good bullpen last year. So I'm trying to stay away from them in the second half. But it's Sandy Alcantara on the hill for the Fish. I think he's underrated. I took a flyer on him to actually win the NL Cy Young. He's a 25-year-old Dominican kid, flamethrower. If he's got his control under his belt, he's a really good pitcher to bet on. That's something I'm going to likely be repeating here in April and May in the MLB season when Alcantara is on the hill looking to bet the Fish in the first 5 innings. Now he's going up against Glasnow, who's 27 years old, former 5th-round pick from the state of California. He's good himself. It's just I give a slight nod here to Alcantara. We can get him in the first 5 innings at plus 135. Of course, going back, that's risking $100 to win 135 on the kickback if the Fish are up at the end of the 5th inning. And I only give a slight edge towards the Rays in terms of their lineup construction. So overall, that equals to Alcantara here and the Marlins at plus 135 in the first 5 innings, Prez.
Would you be interested at all in a first 5 under? The total of the first 5, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, is pretty much flat, 4 flat across the board for this game. And it sounds to me like we like both of these starters a fair bit. We don't love either of these lineups. And if we want to keep the bullpens out of the equation, we look at under 4 first 5 for this one.
I like it, Teddy. I do. I haven't gotten there personally. And, talking about something we just hit on before in terms of how these pitchers faced their opposing lineups just last season, and both of them have about the same profile. I would call it average, a 750 team OPS for their opposition against them, and only 40 at bats last season for both Glasnow and Alcantara. So I think it's kind of priced appropriately, but I would not be surprised if this is 1-0, 0-0 heading into the 5th, because I think both starting pitchers are going to have a lot of success here. I mean, Alcantara's ground ball rate was 49% last year. That's really, really good. Just a 3 ERA. And yeah, I just think he's underrated overall. So I think the fish here priced it, the market's pricing at 59% here for the Rays to win the game. And I just think that's a little bit too high, especially in an NL park, opening day, a lot can happen. But in terms of your question, Teddy, yeah, I do like that underplay. I don't see a lot of runs scored today in Marlins Park.
Drew, let's talk college basketball quick. 3 games left in the season. UCLA plus 14 versus the Zags, 145 total. Really quick. You are one of the best college basketball bettors I know. Who do you like in this game?
The Gonzaga game, Prez, Gonzaga, they're going for 32-0. And if they hit that, we're going to be talking, man, is this the best team ever in college basketball? They're going to be, talking that in the mainstream media. And I just don't like stepping in front of that because, I know they're laying 2 touchdowns here, but they've been rolling. They've been covering numbers, and they're a team with NBA talent that goes at a high pace, meaning up and down the court, there's going to be a lot of possessions. Now they're going up against UCLA, which, UCLA playing a lot slower this year under Mick Cronin, and it's kind of translated to UCLA obviously playing well, finding themselves in the Final Four, and they're hot as well. So this isn't a game I would go huge on, with only 2 games, well, like you said, 3 games left. There's not a lot to select from. So in terms of volume, I kind of cut it down, and I really like the Houston game a lot. But with the UCLA Gonzaga game, if you make me bet this sidewise, I just don't want to step in front of Gonzaga in that profile because I could see him blowing UCLA out and just kind of ending their season. It's been a nice run, almost the Cinderella, even though they are UCLA. Thanks for joining us. But Gonzaga, I think, shows them the door pretty heavy.
Awesome stuff, Drew. Just outstanding having you on. I'll be watching First Pitch throughout the year, learning about baseball from you and your panel. Have an amazing day. Enjoy the baseball today, and go Blue Jays. Also, real quick, Drew Martin has a 5% play up at Sports Memo in college basketball. Drew, you want to promote it real quick?
It's not in the Gonzaga game. It's in the other one. And I like it a lot, guys. I think the market is really off here in terms of where they're pricing these 2 teams from a total standpoint. It's been profitable all year long, this angle that I'm playing. So in what could be the last play of the season for me in college basketball, I really like it. So, check it out, sportsmemo.com.
Awesome stuff, Drew. Guys, it's time. The Prez going right into the penalty box. Wow, a crescendo to bring me into the show. This is the Prez's version of the big game breakdown. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the Hurricanes. I like them in regulation tonight, guys. Plus, you're getting a small amount of money as well. Look, it's minus 155, give or take, on the game. I got no problem with you betting that, but I think the Canes are going to win tonight and win handily. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, Chicago is a bet against team. Since then, I think they are 2-5. So I have been right with that call, and I think it's going to continue. I think Carolina is a top 7-8 team in the league. I think this is a really, really hard team to play against. Man, I'll tell you, the craziest thing about that last game is Carolina lost. They allowed Chicago 16 shots. They outshot Chicago 2-1. They were the dominant team. They just hit a really good goalie, a hot goalie for that night. They're going to bounce back. They're going to win tonight. Take the Hurricanes in regulation. The other bet I want you guys to look at is Tampa Bay. It's minus 278, so I'm not going near that number, but I am going to take Tampa Bay at minus 1.5. Frankly, I don't even have a problem if you take them at minus 2.5. We've been talking about this trend all year. Tampa Bay, after they get shut out or only score one goal in the last 3 years in that spot, they are 25-3. 25-3. Now, I know we have to take that extra goal here, but I'm pretty comfortable with doing that. So take Tampa Bay -1.5. And the last play is the Florida Panthers at -1.5. I had a 5% play on Florida against Detroit a couple of days ago, and they won 4-1. I know Barkov is still out, but this Detroit team is not a good team, and I see no reason why we wouldn't go right back to the Panthers. So there you go. Canes, Florida -1.5, and Tampa Bay -1.5. And Joe, I wish that buzzer actually gave me an electrical shock. Teddy, it was wonderful having you back. Take us home.
I wish that buzzer gave you an electrical shock as well. That'd be fun if I get to press it all show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we'd like Wager Talk today to be for you guys. A little jolt of electricity in your day. I hope today brought some of that for you. I want to thank Drew Martin for joining us. I want to thank Dave Cokin for joining us. I want to ask you, please, before you leave, give us a like, give us a follow, and any comments are always appreciated. They help us with the rankings over at YouTube and the like. So enjoy the games. Enjoy opening day. We'll be back again with another edition of Wager Talk today, 23 hours and 15 minutes from now. Between now and then, cheers.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets for the next 30 days from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1.99 versus the regular price of $3.49 for a total savings of $1.50. Prices are already discounted across the board and no coupon is required. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts menu, and lock them in for 30 days across all sports for only $1.99.